Well, we're not going to talk a lot of nonsense and then not show up. So we're going to go ahead and do the live show. This is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us, making us part of your day and your first listen. We appreciate you guys joining us on whatever platform that you're on, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching the show live on YouTube, you can catch the show live daily when we record it, usually in the mornings between 9:30 and 10:30 Mountain Time. Appreciate you guys being with us. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I am still sick. I am getting slightly worse, so I'm hoping my voice is going to hold out for the episode. I'm joined by Adam Mares from DNVR. You can catch the pre- and post-game shows before every Denver Nuggets game, as well as their daily content on all things Denver sports at DNVR. Make sure to check out the DNVR bar. It's a perfect way for you to go and watch a game, whether it's the Avs or the Nuggets or the Rockies or the Mammoth or there's got to be other teams. Make sure to check out all that stuff at the DNVR bar. On today's show, we're going to start with the conversation about Joel Embiid choosing to miss the game versus Denver and our reactions to that decision. We're going to then get into the game, a messy affair. The Nuggets get the win versus the Sixers. Their magic number is now 4 for the 1 seed. But given the way that it ended, some stuff to talk about just from a focus perspective. Final segment, I have some thoughts on the play-in tournament and how the Nuggets are in a uniquely kind of weird situation relative to history based off of how the play-in tournament affects things. All right. So let's start here. Yesterday in the morning, this is my day. I wake up, I take all the medications that I have. I'm on 5 different medications now. Check the phone. Oh, the Embiid, the Embiid media push here. Last year it was Chris Mannix at Sports Illustrated. This year Shams Charania got the thrill of doing the sit down interview with Joel Embiid, and that happens. And I've been consistent with this. It is okay for Joel Embiid to want the MVP. If you want the MVP, you need to campaign. If you want to campaign, you need to do it through the media. It's totally okay. Sixers fans chose to interpret his comments in that article regarding the various criticisms of Nikola Jokic as more aimed at the media discussion of Jokic rather than direct criticisms of Jokic. I personally feel that if you're going to validate criticisms of another player, which that's what he did by basically talking about stat padding. And
No, Matt. He played the entire song. Stat padding, analytics, defense, voter fatigue. He hit all of the marks. This is the thing that is so annoying about it is, one, he did not call Jokic out by name, which is, first of all, how are you going to call a guy out but not by name like that? That to me is the first cowardly move of the day for Joel Embiid. Number 2 is, when guys are too aware of the conversation about them because they talk about it as such, you're like, oh, you read all your mentions, don't you? That was what Embiid did with the MVP conversation. He's heard all the debates. Yep. He's heard everything. He pulled a little bit of he's like, okay, I heard somebody say this. I heard somebody say this. And he just played all of the hits.
Yep.
So to me, this is what makes it so ridiculous that he didn't play, is that he revealed just how steeped in the narratives he actually is. He is a guy that clearly reads all the replies.
So he lists all those things. He makes this big article, and then it's announced that Joel Embiid is out with calf soreness. Embiid, tightness, I think is the actual term. Embiid was questionable in the prior 2 games, the back-to-back versus the Warriors on Friday and the Suns on Saturday night, and was not able to go in this game. You can drop that article and play in the game, or you cannot drop that article and not play in the game. Doing both is an extremely bad look. This is not my reaction as a person that covers the Nuggets. This is like talking to people that cover the NBA. Not a great look. It's just not. And
I think it backfired on him, Matt. I don't know what the fallout will be from this. Of course, FanDuel now has the odds even for Jokic and Embiid for MVP, but I don't know what the real fallout will be. What I will say is, to me, this all felt like it felt like LeBron's the decision, a calculated move that was miscalculated, meaning something that was very intentional. All right, I'm going to do the interview here and I'm going to do this. And all right, I missed the game because I already dominated the one. So I'm not going to, if I don't play, I actually can win points.
Remember when I told you, like, do you remember when I said, I was like, I bet he doesn't play because there's more for him to lose than gain.
But if he does that without the article, he probably takes a short hit, like Nuggets fans make fun of him. And then, but there's really an issue. And like, it just kind of blows over very quickly. And here's the other thing, Matt, that's so annoying about it. He reminds me of LeBron and how LeBron is so hyper aware of the narrative around him and so desperate to like, no, think this about me. Talk about me this way. And the more you do it, the less it works. To me, that's what's so annoying about it is it all feels so conscious. So like, hey, I have a plan here for how to win this. If he would have gone out there and played and the Nuggets won by 12 points and he just had a 23, 10 and 2 game, like just a below average game for him, but not egregious, he still's going to be the MVP. Everybody loses. Giannis just came in and played. Do you think people were like, oh, Giannis sucks, he's overrated? No, they're like, yep, Jokic outplayed Giannis on a game at home. Go figure. That's exactly what happened. Instead, he did this whole thing trying to think like, if I build this perfectly, it's going to work out great for me, and it backfired.
It's just a truly ridiculous situation. Like, it's just a truly ridiculous situation.
What's the fallout?
I think so. There's gonna be a straw poll that comes out later this week on ESPN. Tim Bontemps was in Denver for both the game versus the Bucks and the game versus the Sixers, and there's a straw poll coming out. You and I have both been polled on it. I am going to predict that this is my baseline, is it's going to be 40% first place votes, 40% Jokic, 40% Embiid, 20% Giannis. I think we're going to be in a dead heat. I think we're going to be I think this probably tied it, because like, it's just one of those things where if you're like, well, look, I downgraded the Nuggets because they lost 4 or 5 or 4 in a row or whatever. The Sixers have lost 3 in a row and 4 or 5. I'll say it, like, the Nuggets losing to the Spurs, the Bulls, and the Nets is a little bit different than losing to Warriors, Suns, Nuggets. But
kind of. I mean, it's only different in that you look at that one and go, oh, the Nuggets clearly have lost motivation and lost this. Like, you don't sit there and go, are they worse than the Bulls? Are they worse than the Spurs? Are they worse than these teams? No, you go, Denver clearly went into some kind of funk or took their foot off the gas, as opposed to a Philly team. Those losses hurt them. They could have been the 2 seed and maybe the 1 seed. They were right there a week ago, right there where it was like, hey, are they going to pass all these teams? Now they're more likely to be the 4 seed than the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Denver went from 7 games up to 4 games up in their slide. Like,
yep.
That's why I say it's a little different.
I agree. I think that all of this has to be balanced. I mean, a lot of this is that I think what probably winds up happening is that Embiid wins narrowly. But it's going to go down as like, do you remember how desperate Embiid was to win that award? Like, that's where we're at now. It's like, this is the most desperate. And like, I've covered this a long time. Harden wanted it bad. Like, Harden wanted it bad. And that's, again, I think it's okay for players to want it. But man, this is like a lot. Like, this is a lot of effort to get this award. Joker notably last night asked about Embiid and raved about him, said nothing but positive things, said he's going to go down as an all-time great.
Of course he did. Are you surprised, Matt?
No.
I mean, let's be honest. Are you surprised Embiid dropped the Shams article Q&A where he all but fake calls out Nikola Jokic? Are you surprised?
No.
Are you surprised Jokic did the gracious thing and said he's a great player? Of course not. And I'm not trying. You could draw your own conclusions from it. But to me, this was the watershed moment for Embiid. I've always been neutral on Embiid, meaning I like his game. He's just Jokic's foil. So I have to be like, okay, well, he's the enemy, but I like to hate him, right? I don't dislike him in any way. To me, this is the one where it pushes it over, where I go, I'm sorry, but that guy's too aware of the narrative. It's, honest to God, a skill set in today's, for professional athletes. Like, how good are you at rising above? Because there's more noise, or maybe there's the same amount of noise, but you have more access to the noise. Like, it's more in your face. How well are you at being above it? This was the ultimate. We always knew that Embiid heard it a lot and cared a lot and this or that. This is the one that pushes it over the edge to me, where I'm like, no, I actually question now all of his decisions. He's played once in the last 6 times in Denver, Matt. Now I go back and I go, maybe all these were calculated. Maybe there was even more to this. If you remember last year, Matt, Embiid had a phenomenal January. He won Player of the Month in January last year, and he won all these games in a row. And I remember at the time looking at it going, man, he just played like 10 straight games against sub 500 teams that were missing their starting center. And he went on this amazing run. You can't take it from him. The game he missed, he wasn't injured, and it wasn't a back-to-back. He missed at Memphis. And I just go, man, you just played like 12 cupcake teams in a row. You get one good team with rest in between, and that's the game you chose to rest? I always thought it was weird. To me, I just look at this and I go, I'm sorry. I now call into question all of his decisions and how much they are motivated by crafting the narrative.
I think what's interesting about that is I've been on that about him. He would always not play the tough game and then go out and smash the Pacers or the Magic or whoever.
Right.
This year, like I genuinely, because I'm trying to be fair, he's done a lot better. Like he played in that back-to-back, and I had a lot of respect for that. I was like, you need a win. You just lost to the Warriors. You don't want to start a slide. He plays in this back-to-back versus Phoenix. Like that, like good for him. And then he avoids this one.
Right.
And I get, like, I said this on Twitter and I stand by it. Like this, if you say this is a schedule problem, I agree. The Bucks should not be playing the Nuggets on an altitude back-to-back. This is these are the two last MVP winners. What are we doing? We know Embiid's going to be in the MVP conversation. We know Jokic is going to be in the MVP conversation, or at least that he won last year. Why are you scheduling them on a 3 and 4 in altitude? What are you doing? Right. But at the same time, you cannot drop this article and then not play. Like,
too aware. I'm telling you, it's a sin. Too aware of the narrative. Too desperate to craft it. And I'm telling you, the weirdest part is, what was the stat that came out where Jokic has played in every game at Philadelphia since his career began? He's never missed one. He keeps going. Whereas Embiid played the first year, their rookie year, then hasn't played until 2019. Jokic hits a game winner right in his face. Then he doesn't play again. Hasn't played again. To me, I'm sorry. I just look at that and I go, by the way, you want to know one other reason I think Embiid probably misses a lot of these Denver games? It's altitude. His biggest problem is conditioning. I honestly just wonder if it's like, man, that game's the hardest one. I get tired in the second quarter instead of the third.
Yeah. So we'll see how the MVP conversation plays out as this interminable.
I think this turned off a lot of people, man. Philly fans were pissed about it. That's how you really know. Is Philly fans were like, dude, you can't do. Dude, I mean, look, Nuggets fans were pissed at Jokic for his pathetic fourth quarter at Philadelphia. Like,
right.
This was one where it was like, man, Philly fans were really down bad about their guy's decision because they even saw through it.
Well, the Nuggets and the Sixers did play without Joel Embiid and James Harden on the floor, and the Nuggets did what they should have done, which was hold a pretty big lead, and we're up 20 in the fourth quarter. And then we'll talk about what happened with the rest of that game, what there is to take away from it. I have an actual take that I can generate from this game, which was impressive for me. We'll do that when we come on the other side. First, I need to tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook. The tournament's heating up, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. You can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. I had bet on the Sixers. I had put together a same-game parlay on the Sixers yesterday, and that did not cash because then Joel Embiid was ruled out. All on app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us on a Tuesday. Matt Moore and Adam Mares. I want to start here. Flo Hazo says Nuggets are lucky Embiid didn't play last night because they almost lost the game at the end. I feel like if Harden and Embiid played, the Nuggets maybe lose. Glad they pulled out a win. So this is a butterfly effect deal. Is the minute that Embiid and Harden do not play, everything else changes. Like it is. Nothing is the same. It is not like you just go, well, they almost lost to the Sixers without Embiid. So if you just add in Embiid.
Did they almost lose?
Right.
Did they almost lose? I mean, there was one possession. There was one possession where I was like, oh crap, they really played this too far. But that was a 20-point game. I think it was a 15-point game when they made the substitution to put in Jaden Springer, and Montrezl Harrell.
Yep.
If the argument is that those guys were going to like dominate Denver, no, that was waving the white flag. And then Denver got a little too sloppy. Jeff Green missed a wide open dunk, for example. Like there was a bunch of that stuff. To me, I can hear what you think that there's a big takeaway from that collapse, but Denver was up 20 points in the third quarter of this game.
I thought it was a fourth.
They were up 20 points in the fourth, but I'm saying they built a 20-point lead in the third quarter, and the rest of it was just messing around, walking the ball up the court. Like it was just, the game was over. Now, even in Philadelphia, like I was sitting courtside for this game. I was in front row. A friend, somebody that follows the work over at DNVR offered me a ticket, an extra ticket that they had. So I got a seat right behind Doc Rivers all night. The coaching staff was coaching and screaming the entire game until halfway through the third quarter when they just stopped. They just stopped. The game got to 20 points. Everybody sat down, and it was just like all right, check the watch, check the time. All right, what are we doing here?
Yep. So I don't have a big take about the collapse. The collapse is just basically just like they screwed around.
Even Michael Malone forgot to put Aaron Gordon in, which he admitted after the game. Like that's how much Denver was off and just like took their eye off the ball.
I don't know that forgot is the right way to put it. Because what he said was, he was like, I really want to get Aaron the rest. And by the time that it got, he's like, because I never thought it would get close enough. By the time it got close enough,
I
didn't want to put him back in because it was cold and it wasn't fair to him. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Like it just does. And he was like, he admitted it was a coaching mistake. I thought it was just crazy that everyone's like freaking out about it. And I'm just like, guys, like you shouldn't lose to the Sixers C team. Like it's a fair assumption to be like, surely my starters are not going to lose to the Sixers C team. You know, they cut it to 15. He puts the starters back in. I didn't know if he was going to even go to that point.
Right.
You know, Kork Maz made some crazy stuff. I love Kork Maz. I've always liked Kork Maz. McDaniels was great. I just, there's not a lot to take away from how they closed that. Like it really was just like they screwed around. The big thing to take away is more how they responded to it. That team was pissed. The Nuggets were really mad at themselves for that. Like Joker was mad in the post-game interview with Katie. Joker like literally said like, we got to be better. Like Katie was like, what does it say that you can still close it out like that? And Joker was like, yeah, we got to be a lot better.
Yeah.
And he said after the game too, like he was annoyed. Bruce Brown was annoyed. Like the players were Malone was predictable.
Part of why you're annoyed is because it gives you the opportunity to say like, well, man, look at how close because that was not a close game. It just wasn't a close game. There was up 22 points actually at one point. Let me see what their biggest lead was. They're up 16. Yeah, 16 points with 5 minutes to go, under 5 minutes to go. So like that collapse was especially quick. It wasn't like they slowly chipped away at it.
Yeah. So I have a lot to take away from that. The takeaway I think I do kind of, by the way, Christian Braun was amazing. That 5-0 run that he had with the dunk and the three was amazing.
It's huge. It was the run of the game.
The second unit with staggering Jamal is kind of built on a principle of Jamal's our second best player. And so Jamal kind of gets to be one of these prototypical scoring guards. Devin Booker, James Harden, Luka Doncic. Not the same type of players in terms of physicality. I'm just those types of high usage, everything runs, high pick and roll stuff. And it's possible that it is just the injury, but I am of the opinion at this point in time that Jamal Murray can't do that. That system is too predicated on Jamal. And Jamal, even though like his assists have been great this year, and I think his passing is at an all-time high, especially with the starters, like his reads have been really good. And he had some good ones last night. At the same time, I do think it's notable that, like, just from a long-term perspective, that Jamal is not necessarily a guy I think you can build an offense around. And he might have been kind of projected as such a guy, given the idea of him being an all-star or whatever else. I just don't know if Jamal is capable of getting the separation, of getting the shots clear, of making the reads and pick and roll, or just executing pick and roll to get the screen cleared, all that types of things. I don't know if Jamal is that player. That doesn't mean that Jamal can't be an all-star. It doesn't mean that Jamal can't be the second best player on a championship team. It doesn't mean that Jamal's not awesome. Jamal's awesome. It just means that specific role, I don't think at this point in time, I have any confidence in him being able to do.
And I agree with you. I will say two things. One, the bench has always looked bad in this Malone era. So there's part of me now that just goes, I don't know. You bring in so many guys, you make the trade deadline, you make all this stuff, and the bench still is atrocious. There's something to this that so many players have been bad when not playing with Nikola, including Jamal. And then the second part of this, I think a lot of scoring guards are not good as individuals, like do it all. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Steph Curry, didn't they miss the play-in, or they made the play-in but missed the playoffs the year where all his guys got hurt, and it was like, well, Steph has to carry him. We know Steph's great. I just think there's a mold of player. Devin Booker for years was thought of as a, good stats, bad team because he couldn't carry a team. Once you get a guy that's like a Chris Paul, who's now the manager, all of a sudden Devin Booker is a killer as a scoring, number one scoring option, but nothing else. So to me, I think Jamal probably fits that mold of player, and it doesn't necessarily diminish his utility as a second guy next to Jokic. I still think it's that he's very good at that role. But it is clear that, to me, I shouldn't say it's clear. I don't have any confidence that the Nuggets bench, if you did in a playoff series say, Jamal, go carry these guys for 3 minutes, I don't have very much confidence that he'd be able to do that.
And maybe the answer to that is what everybody's kind of been calling for, which is like Jamal with MPJ at the 4 in those lineups. Like maybe that's like the solve, is that's how you stagger it.
With Zeke as the 5?
Yeah. Depending on the matchup. Because
it's tough. It's just tough. I'll say one thing that was interesting about last night. Did we get 1 or 2 Zeke Najee's threes? Because I think since he's come back, I'm not sure if he's taken a 3, which is a big part of what we think of Zeke Najee, right? That he can defend, but he can also stand in the corner and strip space the floor. Well, he hadn't been taking threes. He went 0 of 2 yesterday, but at least he got a couple looks.
The first one that he took was the mechanics on it were so bad. Like I turned around and looked at Ryan Blackburn. Like I was just like, what did they do to this poor guy's shot? Like, what did they do to this? Like, what did they do to my guy? So it was rough.
Tyrese Maxey carved up Denver. That's one of my takeaways. Was Denver not really trying that hard? Were they not locked in? I don't know. But Tyrese Maxey in the first half got to the rim every single time. And it was kind of sad how much he was just driving straight line drives past Denver's defenders.
Yeah. I'll tell you that, like, having been in the building for Saturday night and then Monday.
Whiplash?
Yeah. Like Saturday was such a high level of intensity. Monday was like your basic, we're here, we're going to get through this game.
I think Monday was one of the softest called games both ways. Denver benefited a lot from this as well, but that was one of my big takeaways was, my God, that game on Saturday was a playoff level physicality and everything else. And this one was like the YMCA league. Yeah. Guys just walking around, little finesse jump hooks, little tap on the wrist, let's call a foul. It's just like, there's nothing like that Bucks game where the guys were tackling each other.
It was wild. Russ says, is Jeff Green the worst player in the NBA to get significant minutes? No. Jeff's been good lately. Jeff missed that dunk last night. I get that he was on the floor for the collapse, but like Jeff's been good lately. He's been good. Jeff made the clinching free throws last night, so like we need to just settle down on that.
He did hit the clinching free throws. And those were big. I was nervous when he went to the line. I was like, well, of all the guys to pick to go to the line in that moment, Jeff would have been the last option.
Yeah. What's funny, by the way, is that, did you see what happened on the challenge?
No, I didn't actually, because I had to run out to the arena.
Yeah. So here's what happened. Jeff steps out of bounds. They don't call it. They call the foul. Doc challenges the foul, but he can only challenge the foul. They can't give the ball to the Nugget or to the Sixers, seeing that he was out of bounds. They can only challenge the foul. It was a foul. Jeff keeps possession. Jeff hits the free throws.
Was he out of bounds?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that.
So it was a lot closer to being a loss than you might have thought. So yeah, that was a twist there. I wouldn't take too much from this game. I wouldn't worry about it. I just think that it was a letdown spot for them with Embiid and Harden out, and they thought they had it, and the Sixers bench decided to try, and good for those guys. And the Nuggets decided to screw around, and it got close, and they won. And
one other takeaway I had from sitting where I did, again, unusual seats right there in the front row, how much Jokic directs traffic when he doesn't have the ball. You don't see it, but there's a lot of like Jokic is just nonstop telling guys like, pointing his fingers and just saying, "Hey, this way, go cut that way, cut this way. Here, this ball, now go to the corner." It was a lot more than I expected.
On the other side, the Nuggets are going to get the 1 seed, and that means they're going to face the 8 seed, and that means that they're going to have to deal with a play-in team, and that's a little bit different rather than it used to be with the normal 8 seeds. We'll talk about that on the other side when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us. Nuggets magic number as you wake up on this Tuesday morning is 4. It's 3 over the Kings. It's 4 over the Grizzlies, thanks to tiebreaker advantage over Memphis. So the Nuggets are going to get the 1 seed. That's done. It's the concern about it is all gone as the Nuggets have won 4 in a row. They will be the 1 seed. They'll face the winner of the second playing tournament game. So for those of you that don't follow this kind of things as closely as we do, the 7 seed will play the 8 seed. The winner of that will get the 7 seed. The loser of that game will play the winner of the 9 versus 10 game, and that team will get the 8 seed. Part of the ramifications of this is because of how the league schedules it. That game is typically on Friday night. As such, the Nuggets are only going to have 2 days of real prep and really only 1 day of prep before they take on their first playoff game versus an opponent. The Nuggets will be playing on that Sunday. I will tell you that right now. They'll probably be the Sunday late game, is what I would imagine, as it's a Nuggets home game. And as such, to me, I will tell you, having watched the play-in now for, I think, 3 years, one thing that's been kind of interesting is it does mess with what we've typically come to see in these first games, in these early parts of series. Things get a little bit weird because you don't have as much time to preach and practice principles. Oof, boy, that was some alliteration. Versus the opponent. The Nuggets scouting staff is right now, like they're already doing the work and have done work on scouting all of the different opponents.
Yeah.
But with all of the kind of like dynamics of it, you're just not, I think from a player side, it's going to be tough for them to be as mentally prepared from a game plan perspective as you might think, depending on who they play. So that's something to kind of consider as we look at like the play-in tournament and how this thing is going to shake out. The current standings in the Western Conference. 7 seed Golden State Warriors after the Wolves passed them last night with a huge win versus the Kings. The Pelicans are in 8th. Pelicans' final schedule includes all teams with winning records. The Los Angeles Lakers are in 9th. The Oklahoma City Thunder are in 10th. The Dallas Mavericks are 1 back at the 11th spot. The Jazz are pretty much done. So
that's too bad about the Jazz, by the way.
Yeah,
they were the easiest team for Denver to beat,
for sure. I will tell you right now that I don't think it's going to be Suns, and I don't think it's going to be Clippers for the Nuggets. I don't think either of those.
I don't think it'll be. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, not Suns, probably not Clippers. Yep.
It can be any of.
It could be Clippers, though. It could be Clippers.
It could
By
be
the way, actually, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Denver plays the Suns twice in Phoenix. One of them's on a second night of a back-to-back. Do you feel like those games are almost important for Denver to knock Phoenix down?
No.
They play them on Friday, which will be tough because that's so early that you can't really do the standings thing. But when you see the game on April 6th, that's the 4 days before the end of the season. You could probably see the finish line there. And to me, I think Phoenix is the toughest matchup for Denver. I really do. So if you see Phoenix there and you have an opportunity to knock them, not even down to the 6, but just down to the 5, to where they have to go to one of these teams on the road, to me, it feels meaningful enough that I would say, you know what, Denver, go out there and play them. Let's see if you can put them down.
I think if you do, it's a benefit. I will also say, as somebody who, if you remember, advocated strongly for the Nuggets manipulating their standings in 2019, 2020, and 2021. Like I was like, you need to make sure you get in the right side of the bracket.
Yeah.
That's not who you are. You're the 1 seed. You've been the 1 seed for 3 months. Like that to me is where you kind of got to draw the line. And I'm not saying that like you don't try and win. If you are in a spot to win, sure, win it. No problem. Like it doesn't, the Suns are not your responsibility. You don't need to, when I say you don't need to worry about the Suns, you need to worry about the Suns when you need to worry about the Suns.
Right. When they arrive.
Yep. Yeah. You worry about the Suns when they get there. But now I think you you need to get through this next 4 games, and you need to clinch the number 1 seed, and then you need to get Aaron Gordon, KCP, Jamal Murray, and Nikola healthy. And that's like, they need to be real chilling. They need to be a very chill. Honestly, this is a part of it too. This needs to be a mentally relaxing last 2 weeks, because like everyone else is going to be so stressed out every single night. Like even the Suns, as like we sit here, the Suns are 2 games up. If the Suns lose back-to-back games, if they have a 2-game losing streak, they can be in the 7th spot. Just how it goes. That's just where we're at with this race. Now they're not going to. KD gets back on Wednesday, but I don't think that you should be. Here's the thing. I think when you're the 1 and you're trying to win a title, and you're like, the Suns are the worst matchup, I think it's just like, look, you're the tough matchup. I don't know. I don't think that's true though, man. I mean, I know this is an unsatisfying answer. There are teams that are that way, that are that good, 65-win teams or whatever, where it's like we go through everyone. I think in today's NBA, every team has a good and bad matchup. I think the Bucks are the best team in the NBA, and I think Denver beats them because they have a better matchup against them. The matchup is just good. I agree. I
think that's how it is with Denver. I think Denver, if you were telling me that about the Timberwolves or the Pelicans or something, to me it would be one thing. But the Phoenix Suns have 2 of the best players in the NBA, three of the best players in the NBA, and are specifically good at the thing Denver's specifically bad at.
I hear you, and I don't disagree. I also just think that like my thing is you're going to have to face Phoenix at some point.
I don't know if that's true though. I don't think that's true. I look at this and I think some teams actually beat Phoenix. There's a paper, rock, scissors to that Western Conference. It's really to the whole NBA that I think matters at least a little bit.
So let me put this a different way. If you had an opportunity late in the season to make sure that the Suns faced the Clippers or Warriors and not the Wolves,
right?
That's an opportunity you should take. Right. If you could be like, hey, if we sit tonight, the Suns are going to have to play the Clippers. You should sit.
Let's talk about the Wolves real quick.
Let's talk about the Wolves real quick.
If we had to rank the good vibes teams in the NBA right now, I think Sacramento's number 1. Is Minnesota number 2?
I think Minnesota right now is number 1.
They passed the Sacramento Kings.
They beat them last night and denied them a playoff.
Oh, that's true. You know what? You're right. They did beat them.
They were so sad. Harrison.
That was the vibes matchup.
That's how he flipped. Transitive property. Yeah,
you might be right. By the way,
I wrote about this. What's really great about the Wolves is that no one was gonna save them. There wasn't like, because like Towns was just going to be out, and he just got back. And it's not like Towns got back and they started winning. No. Like they got themselves in a position and got Towns back for like a game, 2 games. Like they had to pull themselves out of it, and they got talent. But like Ant is not at a place where like Anthony Edwards is not in, I'm going to raise everybody up and like carry you on my back like Jokic did the last 2 years. That's not who he is. He's a star. Right? Really good player. Rudy Gobert is a star. Really good player. Those guys had to find an identity. They had to pull together, and they had to play great basketball. And Kyle Anderson and Jalen Noel and Mike Conley when he got there at the trade deadline, and Jordan McLaughlin and Naz Reid. And I'll say it like as a guy that has long criticized Rudy, Rudy's been awesome this year. Like he has been so good when I have watched. He has been so good. And like they've trusted him. They've been like, no, like here's a pass, go finish. Like not getting post-ups, but like, hey, you've got an open opportunity. We're not going to look you off.
I think they're a good team. And I think I don't know if they're a tough matchup or not for Denver. They're just a chaotic matchup. And that's why I fear them a little bit.
Well, they're playing with such house money because it's like they came in with expectations and cratered so hard and took such a beating from everyone for being such a disappointment. And now they're just like back here and they're just like, yeah, no, we just play together. Chris Finch is a hell of a coach. Chris Finch is a great coach in the NBA. I think he's done such a great job. And like Cat, is he a goofball? Is he a dork? Yes, absolutely 100%. But I love the enthusiasm he's played with. He's been so happy to be back and like making game-winning plays. It's been really cool. Like the Wolves are a great story. It's awesome. And this is the lesson is, guys, there's nobody you want to see in that first round matchup. There's no.
It's so true. I honestly think, I mean, to me right now, if you just told me all of the teams there, I would say the Pelicans, just because they seem the most dysfunctional. But even if they get Zion back, who knows? Oklahoma City Thunder to me, but they're so long and so well coached that they might have the strategic advantage in a playoff series. So I do think those two are the easiest, but at the same time, they're not such cupcakes.
Yeah.
But like you said, to me, Denver can't really be worried about any team. I think the Phoenix Suns present a really tough matchup, but Denver and Jokic specifically, the way he has approached at least some of these big games recently, if he approaches that Suns game like that, he's as much a problem for them as KD and Booker and Chris Paul are for Denver.
Yeah. And look, you might get the Warriors. That just might be how it goes.
You might get the Lakers, which I think is another one that's tough. Like, to me, Phoenix, but the Lakers look terrible. By the way, LeBron James came back. He does not look very healthy to me. He doesn't look very back.
He's not. He needs foot surgery. Like, he's going to have foot surgery in the offseason. That's going to happen. You're not going to feel good about the Lakers until the fourth win for Denver. You're not going to, it could be 3-0, and you're still going to be like, I don't know.
3-0, and I just know Jokic is 24 fouls away from 4-3 loss, which is, I don't know. You've seen the numbers, Matt.
Yep.
You've seen the numbers.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Who's reffing? Nuggets up 3-0. Who's reffing game 4?
Tony Brothers.
We got to get – what's that?
Tony Brothers.
Tony Brothers comes in on game 5. We get Scott Foster. There'll be a whole gauntlet. It'll be a full court press of foul calls.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm not telling you not to worry. I'm not going to be like, don't worry, you're going to recruit. No, it's going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to be hard. I just think that worrying about one team rather than another is.
You're right. You're right about that.
Is, it's because I can do the same thing here, which is like, yeah, the Lakers have LeBron AD. They're also a 500 team.
Yeah.
They're 10-6 in their last 16 games since the All-Star break. Sure. 100%. A lot of those are like specific spots where they caught specific teams in very specific manners. And this team is still like, their third best player is D'Angelo Russell. Their fourth best player is probably Malik Beasley. Sorry, it's Austin Reeves.
Austin Reeves for sure.
Yeah.
Can we do real quick, just go through the schedule? I want to hear your projection for Denver. There's only 7 games left. New Orleans on Thursday. They get 2 more days off. This is the most rested the Nuggets have been. How have they played like 3 games in 9 days?
I know. It's very weird. By the way, they end with a back-to-back.
Yeah, well, everybody does. New Orleans at home. That's a win, I think.
I don't know.
2 days rest. I think it's a win. They're playing good basketball. New Orleans
at home. Yeah, at home. I think they're past that blip where they lost to the Nets and Bulls. So okay, that's a win.
Second night of the back-to-back. The following night, Friday, is at Phoenix.
Lost. That's okay.
Then you have Golden State coming in for a Sunday game.
Oh, man. I'll say win. They'll get up for that one.
So if they beat New Orleans, lose to Phoenix, that game against Golden State, there's a decent chance that's to clinch the 1 seed. It's not a lock, but there's a chance. If Memphis loses 1 game between now and then, I believe, and Denver wins the 1 against New Orleans, that's 1 + 2. That would become 3. So if that either puts them to win the 1 seed or it puts them like 1, their magic number becomes 1.
Right.
Effectively ending the stressful part of their season. So I'm going to say win as well, even though that's a tough game. And then the 4th at Houston.
Win.
So then almost certainly we think they will have locked up the 1 seed by April 4th. So they'll have 3 games to go at Phoenix. You probably don't play that hard on that. It's TNT. It's TNT.
You don't show anybody. The thing is, on that last week of the season, you can do that. You can rest guys, right? So like maybe starters play like preseason rotation.
Starters play. They don't have any strategic. They just run their base sets. They don't run any plays. They probably lose because they look terrible.
Oh no, we're down 25. We gotta rest everybody. Oh well.
At Utah,
win.
Just because nobody plays that one, and it probably doesn't matter.
Yep.
And then the last game is Sacramento, which probably won't matter, so who cares? So we just think that they get the 1 seed pretty comfortably and probably have a weird end of the year where they probably have a week of meaningless basketball.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was kind of about this with some of the folks in the media room last night. I think this is such a different situation for them. They're not having to it's not every single game. You're not battling for position. You're not like trying to scrap through it. Really, like they are just killing time.
Yeah.
Like they really are just killing time, and it got a little dicey there when they screwed around. but then they won 4 in a row, and now it's like back to being done. By the way, like the Grizz have Magic tonight, Clippers at Bulls, Blazers is a win, at Pelicans is a toss-up, at Bucks, it depends on if Milwaukee needs it for the 1, and then at Thunder. Like, Memphis has a lot more losses on the table than Denver does the rest of the way.
If we go through 538 real quick, they've got Nuggets 1, Grizzlies 2, Kings 3. After that, they've got the Suns 4 with 44 wins, the Clippers and Warriors both with 43, so 1 fewer. So again, I don't think Denver will manipulate the standings this early, but I do look at that Warriors game and go, who do you think Denver has a better chance of beating in a playoffs? Golden State or Phoenix?
Jeez. Golden State.
I think so too. And I do wonder, does Denver try to beat Phoenix, lose to Golden State? Does that flip the odds to where all of a sudden Golden State now has the upper hand? I don't know. I don't know if you want to play with fire and get the Warriors. I mean, that's
like I said, I'm all for manipulating the standings. I think this is going too far. Do you want my projections?
Sure.
Nuggets at 55 wins, Grizzlies at 51.7, so basically 52.
Okay.
Kings at 49, Suns at 44.
Okay.
Clippers at 43.
Yep.
It's like less than a game behind. The Wolves in the 6 at 42.
Wow.
The Warriors. Here's where I've got them. I've got Wolves at 42.4, Warriors at 42.3. So that's like 7 edge.
That's the play-in.
Yeah. And then 7, 8, and then 8 is Pelicans at 41.4, Lakers at 9 at 41, and the Thunder in 10 at 40.7.
So you have the Lakers basically winning the 8 seed. So that's the matchup you have.
I don't know. I get it, man, but like, it would not shock me if the Lakers in the 8-9 in the eighth spot playing game go into New Orleans and the Pelicans house them. It would not shock me.
That would be pretty awesome, actually. That one specifically would be so poignant.
Yeah, it would not surprise me. So
man, that game would also give the Pelicans the better chance at winning the lottery, right? Or I guess it wouldn't matter since it's a pick. Is it a pick swap or they both have? Either way, it'd be fun to send the Lakers down to have them lose the lottery.
All right, let's go wrap it up for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have yourselves a great day. Make sure to check out Adam's work over at DNVR. You can follow me in the Action Network app. You can follow me on Twitter at HB Basketball. He's at Adam_Mares. The show is at Locked On Nuggets. Make sure to check out the YouTube page, rate, review, and subscribe. Send it to a friend. Oh, one more thing. I've had like in the last, month or so, I'm not going to put this on Twitter because I look like I'm making it up. I've had like 5 different people at the games come up to me and be like, shout me out and be like, hey, like, thanks so much. I need you to know how much that means to me. Like that means like an incredible amount to me. And I'm usually so kind of like in my zone at the games or like trying to go do something or whatever that I don't always like respond. I need you to know how much I appreciate that. Like 2 people came up yesterday to thank me for the coverage. And like, that means the absolute world to me. I deal with so much negativity in terms of criticism to the work that having anybody that just takes your time out of your day to consume anything that I make, that is such a gift to me. And I do not take it lightly. And I really appreciate it.
We see like all of the criticisms, like most people are vocal when they're upset about something. So even though 99% of people, I think, enjoy the show, like so much of the commentary is just like angry people online. So it is definitely nice. That's really cool, Matt.
Have yourself a great day. We'll talk to you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.